Good morning, my friends. It is Roger once again, Mudfossil University, talking today about the mysterious Dropa Stones. Now, these are found here and there all over the world, these discs that have all this strangeness attached to them. They don't understand them, and they're carved, and they're made from some materials that they don't fully understand, different types of materials, and different structural integrity to these materials that they don't understand. And some of them are very, very interesting. I'm going to show you what I have discovered about these Dropa stones, and I believe that they relate to the way tendons form. Tendon anthesis anchors. Okay, if you see that, this is an elegant Dropa stone. Highly carved, but look at all this patterning here. This is what I want you to see, and I want to make a point now. These tendon anthesis anchors, they're round balls, and they have an attachment that holds them, and a strap comes back. I'm going to show you the anatomical version of it. And they're all over the earth. They go, oh, giant stone balls here, stone balls there. Geodes are the same thing. Geodes are from stone balls. And I'm going to show you a lot of stone balls. And that is the source of the Dropa stones. All right, and here is they come just absolutely enormous. These aren't even anything to speak of. Now, remember that thing I just said was the Dropa stones. This is the type of material that's in some of them, not all of them. They have all kinds of different internal structures. Now, you see that little block there came out? These have little chunks inside of them of mineralization. They're just tough as hell. And these anchor in. You see, they're all over the place. They anchor in clusters. Now, let's go look at the anatomy. This goes back to 4 years ago, February 9th, 2015. This was when I excavated out this particular 36-inch wide palm. And that's only the palm up to here. All right, then there's big bones up to here, and then they go out from there. And I have found a lot of the other parts I finally gave up because nobody got interested. But if you look at this, you will see this is a left palm, and what you're looking at there is the tendinous strap that runs down right like this. You put your hand out like this, you're going to have one of these running across here. It's almost like putty, and then you're going to have that strap running right down the middle of your hand. That's where your thumb runs off to the side. And this is also a beefed up, this red clay. Now, I looked at this very carefully. I could see all of the details of the skin and everything in here very clearly. And I have the fingers, and I have this DNA certified. This was DNA certified. Now, in addition to that, so that was 36 inches wide. I could estimate between 50 feet, somewhere around there that would be. Now, in addition to that, I have this, which is even better. This is from a 200-foot giant, and this is the finger. That is actually the fingerprint lines, and these little dots are the sweat glands in the fingerprints. And this part right here is where the skin rises up on the back of, right like in here. And then it meets up to where the fingerprint starts, and that is the fingerprint. And there's no question. And this is the thickness of the skin of the finger. And this is tough. This is loaded with silicone. It is just as scrappy and tough as it gets. This is skin chemistry. This is a skin fingerprint. This came off of a finger. The finger is still out there in the woods. I cannot get it out. Then I hurt my shoulder doing that. This, if you could look at this carefully, you'll be able to see all the little holes that are in this skin that service it with blood down in the skin layers. Now, above, in the big finger out there is where we drilled down into it to get the blood out. You find the arteries and the veins they send the blood in and pull the blood back from these different areas because they're going to be flush with blood. Your fingers are flush with blood. So we go down, little tiny drill into those, right into the actual blood. So we're not getting something that's nothing. We're getting something that's something. And this was dense. He said it was dense. And it was certified. And here's the report. By the way, this is the third thing we had tested, was a lung. You show that to any doctor, he's going to say, yep, that's a left lung. This is the lobe-looking stuff in the lung. This is the pleura that's on the lung. Very, very obvious what this is. This is the little flap on the end, the fascia tongue. This is the depression of the heart, which is in the left lung. It was laying flat as a pancake. See on the back flap? And the guy died like that. And that is his lung. Anybody's ever done an autopsy on somebody in their lungs will understand that. Now, if you want to see this, just go up to mudfossils.com, and here's the report. There was 3 samples sent in, the 36-inch wide hand, a lung, which I showed you, and then the mud tip. Oh, no, I'm sorry, the 36-inch tip was the size of that one fingertip that had the fingerprint on it. The mud tip was the smaller finger from the 36-inch wide hand. Now, it was all done with ancient DNA extract kits and so forth, and there was 2 areas they looked for. And this was done with a lot of detail, and I was very impressed with the guy that did it. And these are the different solutions and things and whatever they do to extract, and then these are the results: positive, negative for the negative controls. One of them, the mud tip, was not as well. That's the one I showed you, the hand. I mean, the hand is obvious, and I have one fingertip that's just like I could have just cut it off the guy's hand, but I sent blood in from one that was highly eroded, and it, see this one here, that one there, just, it had the center, whatever it is, 2 types of things they look for, and they had one of them, but the other one wasn't present because it was just in too much of, it was eroded too much. The other ones, we went deep right into the blood. Look, it was very prominent. And these come down, and here's the Homo sapien mitochondrial cytochrome B gene and the D-loop region for all of these, except the mud tip didn't have as much in one region. But it was certified as truly a human DNA. It had 100 base pairs in one region. Would you never get that? He said it's impossible unless it was what it is, and it's a Homo sapien mitochondrial DNA. And these are all of the specific CTAGs and all that business to tell you, the DNA sequencing. It's a certified test. So there's no reason this shouldn't be allowed and shouldn't be considered at least valid of examination of the specimens that this represents. I would think that anybody that was teaching students would say, well, geez, if you got that, let me take a look. No, get away from us. Stay away. Don't contact us. Okay, this is one of those tendon balls, those anchors. They're charging $18,000 for that. I have so many pictures of these stone balls in different variations. I'm just going to roll right through them. Now, this is one just shows a guy with 2 of them underneath. This is the one showing how they come in onion peels. Just some stone balls laying around. Here's some that are inside of flesh, really. Same thing here. They're inside of flesh. That is skin or some type of flesh. There's some just laying around. They run all over the place. And when you see them in these major clusters like that, it's normally from skin. That sometimes they get colored, and that depends on the conditions in the ground, the solvents. This is the same sort of structure we saw in those Dropa stones. Some of them have holes in the center, completely empty. It's filled with sand. Some of them have spikes and all kinds of mineralizations, literally spikes in the center. Then this outside ring sometimes has these blocky things, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on where it is in the body. Now, I believe this is flint or chert. Now this is just one sticking up. That's the stalk. They all have a vein and artery that feeds them. See, vein and artery. That's the kids playing on that one I showed earlier. That's Chaco Canyon, is built on tendon entasis. I'm 100% sure of that. These are balls that are just laying around next to that house. There's some just laying around outside. There's some guys working on one they found in a cave. There's one that is very, very large, and that's the sand coming out of it. Now I hope you can see that all right. I just don't have time to go through all these. Now some of them have this fabric in them. This is one that is down in South America somewhere in Chinchero, Peru. This is one that I got from my friend Lee Simpson. It's all eroded out, and you can see the structure inside. This is one I got from Lily Lavender. That's exact same architecture, identical to Iapetus. That is Saturn's moon. Another one, identical, stone ball, looks like Iapetus. Here's sometimes there's nothing inside. They're like this. There's certainly something inside. I mean, that's not nothing inside, but it depends on the conditions in the ground and the type of tendon ball entasis point that it happens to be. It's just the way it looks. Now, there's a whole batch of them sticking up in the air. That's when they're on this real powdery stuff. That's skin. See, that's powdery stuff. That's skin. Those were in skin emplacements. And that little tube ran right up into this. It was a strap that held that. That's just a peninsula that is shaped like that. Here's a stone ball. Absolutely flawless. Perfect. Easy to see how it's constructed. That's that stone ball plate, which is like the Dropa Stones. These are skin balls. Those are what they now refer to as interstitium. They're coated with hematite, and they have sulfur in them, and their skin chemistry. The skin has certain chemistry, and the rest of you has certain chemistry. The reason these balls are just laying around here is because the straps and the skin, the clay, which is called plastic clay, has eroded away from here. And this is called ball clay. If it was complete, right now, this stuff that's just below your skin, it's called ball clay because the balls are in it. They know about it. They just don't understand it. Now, the straps are missing from here, but on Mars, the straps are still on the balls. Here's some stone balls right here. Mars is identical to Earth, and it has all the same structures on Mars, and I have absolutely proven that. Here's a stone ball sticking up. There's somebody just hugging up against one. That's a stone ball on a stalk in the Arctic island. This is the way they cut them. They used to cut them just like that too, and I have evidence to prove that. Not just guessing. Giants built Stonehenge, and they used the parts from giants. That's a foot. I tried to contact Stonehenge about it. The answer was, don't ever contact us again. That's stones fitted together, stone slabs. Okay, now we're going into all kinds of stone, strange things. Okay, here's, you know what that is? Those are sweat glands. And next to those are hairs. And then this is some of the strange rock that is part of these tendon balls. Anyway, I have so much stuff on this. It's so overlooked. So the guy's crazy. Well, I don't think so. Okay. You remember I told you about that hole and has all those tendon ball entasis. That is the identical ball that would snap right into this. And below there will be another one. And that strap is so strong. That's what lets you manipulate your whole body around. You don't rip these things apart easily. And you can't do that with that. There's Krishna's butterball is a similar structure like that. They were afraid it was going to fall over. They took 12 elephants. They couldn't move it. It's still there today. Okay, this is going to fry your mind. I'm going to tell you that right now. This is the way these tendon entasis develop. And as they grow, the straps change and become fibrous. The inside becomes mineralized. You see it, mineral here? And spiky as hell. And I'm going to show you something that should change the way you see life, or at least the world. That is the mineralized section inside of a tendon ball. That's a guy standing here. This whole thing is the external or circular structure of the tendon ball. Over here is the central core. It has a central core that rounds here and spikes sticking everywhere, just as you saw in the anatomical biological part. Now, I'm not sure where this picture came from. Someone sent this to me, but I don't want to not credit people for their pictures, and because I'm using everybody's pictures, I take them off the internet. This is I don't make any money at this, and I will never accept any money for this. So it's strictly to comment, and which it allows me to do this under the Fair Use Act. Strictly commentary, educational. Most of you heard me talk about abrupt transitions, and that's an abrupt transition. That is an abrupt transition. There'll be other abrupt transitions out here. There's about 4 or 5 of them that I've discovered between it's really considered an organ, the tendon organ, which has this enthesis anchor, and then the strap comes from there. And that breaks off right there in most cases. And sometimes you can't even hardly tell. But there will be blood supply coming into that through this stalk. They are all fed and with arterial blood, and they come back with vein blood. Not much. There's very little in these, but it comes. Everything in your body has to have things delivered to it. Let me put it that way. Some things are almost inert in your body. Blood vessels and tendons and these ligaments and so forth. They're virtually, they don't really consume anything. They don't grow once they're in, they really pretty don't much grow at all. And University of Copenhagen did a research on this. Why they are so hard to repair is because they don't grow. They literally just need this minerals and these little fluids to stay flexible and gooey and move around in your body and flow with the rest of your body. They're really not eating a lot like your muscles and so forth. All right, I'm going to cut this a little short because I could go on for hours because I have so much on these tendons. But this is the Achilles tendon, Achilles heel, and that is the tendons that come out. And there are little, if you could see very carefully, you look like that little wrinkle, that's an abrupt transition. There'll be another abrupt transition down here, and then there's several other ones as they come out. Now, let me show you what they did with these in the past using the giants. Now, I've shown you these giant tendon balls. If you don't believe they're giant, I nothing else I can say to you, but I'm going to show you a couple things to continue to prove my case. These are the tendon balls I'm talking about, and that's the little strap that comes down. The one I showed you that I had, they broke right off here. That's the abrupt transition. That's why when I show my tendon balls and the straps, that's these. Now, they should be implanted down here. That is ripped out, and that is a painful injury. I'm going to tell you that right now. But you have others that back you up, so you don't lose control of this anchor. Otherwise, you could not move your arm or your shoulder or your leg or your foot or your toe, and you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these in your body. What you just saw in that living human body is that mat that would be right here, and that tendon ball would be locked in that mat, and that strap would be running up to a bone or a muscle or whatever it was that anchor had to pull against. That's the nature of this. There was another one right here that's broken off. That ran down probably to this ball or to this ball, but they run all over. You saw the anatomical version of it. This is not pie in the sky. This is tendons in the ground. You see this? Let me show you what it is on Earth. I think that's cellulite. I do. I think it's cellulite. This is the blood layer. You see how thick that blood is? There's a lot of infusion of blood going into this stuff. And I think that stuff was where you collect the glucose and things like this, or fat, or whatever you want to call it, in these layers. That is your that layer of fatty tissue that you call on in need of energy. So I don't know, some people call it cellulite. I don't know if that's right or not. Or I don't know if this is the fatty tissue. I'm not sure. But it sure looks like it to me. Because that blood transfer, there's too much blood in amongst this. You don't need that much blood. It's working this stuff somehow. It's working with that. The Achilles tendon, that's an Achilles tendon, and it runs a very long distance, and they were cutting it out when it was wet, and they were making these walls in the back, and I can prove that. You see this? This is Puerto de Samaipata, Bolivia. These tracks are inside of wet, drying tendons from giants. That means that there was a high-tech vehicle here with tank-style treads that elevate it from sinking into the wet flesh and the wet tendinous material, allowing it to cut slabs to use to build and construct things, which is exactly what they did with this as seen, and now I will show you how those slabs sometimes contained the blood instead of the tendinous material. Tendinous material is biologically inert almost. Very little blood, very little. You see a little bit here, and you see a couple of red spots here and there, but basically it's calcium carbonate, CaCO3. And once it was all flushed out in the salt waters of the Great Flood, and all the contents, the volatile organic components within the fleshy materials, that wet gooey stuff that runs around your body and delivers stuff, picks stuff up, it has gases, it has all, it's going to wash right onto solutions of the water. Once the water can become waterlogged, therefore it didn't decay. It doesn't decay like it does underground, because salt water preserves flesh. Salt preserves, but salt destroys bone. The bone goes because salt invades it and destroys it. The chemicals that are in your bone are highly can be destroyed by salts. So inside your body, you actually have a membrane that keeps your bones away from the salts. That's my understanding, and that is why they don't do this in your body. But as soon as they get into the wet, salty conditions of an aqueous solution flood, and no longer are being continuously infused with different nutrients, they decay and they turn into source rock. And this again, hold on, I showed that one thing. Give me a second. Okay, once again, this is the bone. That's a bone. I mean, nobody can say that's not a bone. If you can say that's not a bone, you got some kind of issue with your mind. Now, this spot right here is the only part of the bone that's left. We put a little water on it, and that's you got to put water on things. This is the way all rocks will hydrate. Don't ever tell anybody. Don't ever let anybody tell you that they don't hydrate. They suck water in like crazy because they were alive once. They love water. All right. Now that little white spot right there. I don't know if you can even see it. That's all that's left of this bone. See, there it is right there. And the reason that's all left because this was invaded. It was invaded by the chemistry of these salts at some point in the flood times. So that's all I can say is, and there's no question about this. There's no doubt about the things I'm saying. It's time to look at this. I mean, for goodness sakes, it's 6 years now. Yale refuses to look at it. Harvard refuses to look at it. Every single one of them. None of the other ones even responded. And I've tried with hundreds and hundreds. I'm not kidding. It's been 6 years. You can see I got 600 videos. 600 videos. And not one challenge. That's a single challenge. Not one. Zero to what I have put out. It's just been told me, go away. We don't want to talk to you. Right? And Professor Briggs at Yale will not discuss this with me. I'm just on the rope. He absolutely refuses. And I don't think that's very becoming of him, especially if that's his sworn duty is to be a professor, to look into things and to be an educator, an examiner of truth. That doesn't really work all that well. There it is, as simple as this. This is why they fit together so well. They came out as putty. You could see that the vehicle, which was here because there was high-tech equipment here thousands of years ago. Totally, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. This is not some just little joke talking about some silly little thing. Oh, look at that. It's a pebble. It looks like the head of a goat or something. No, absolutely not. This is our history. This is reality. This is even possibly our eternity. I'm telling you right now, this is a disaster we live in. An absolute disaster. I'm sorry, I keep going off the rails of this, but I cannot help myself. I am disgusted with the way our educational system works. Absolutely disgusted. Now, getting back to this. These are blocks of flesh, of tendinous material. And that right there, my friend, is where they use one of these. This is the blow up of that. And that is blood. And I believe this is a bone area here. And they try not to get these. Normally they don't do that, but there's a lot of scraps in this wall. This guy didn't do a real good job. So, I don't know what his eternity looks like right now. But I'm telling you right now, if you don't pay attention to this, and then you don't start looking into the ancient texts, you are a fool. That's my last word.